Admiral James Wilson stood at the large window of Earth Defense Command's main control room, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The morning had started like any other until the massive ships appeared. They simply materialized in Earth's orbit, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Lieutenant Rogers said from his station. His voice was steady, but his fingers trembled slightly over the controls. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies." Wilson nodded, his gray eyes fixed on the nearest vessel. It was massive, at least 3 miles long, with a design that spoke of power and arrogance. "Put it through," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life. The being that appeared looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was too perfect, its eyes too large, and its uniform too elaborate. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English. "I am Grand Admiral Vale of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your planet has been chosen to join our empire. Your resistance would be futile. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are inadequate. You have 48 hours to surrender and accept Imperial rule." Wilson's expression remained neutral, even as his mind raced. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment. He watched as similar ships positioned themselves above every major city on Earth. Their show of force was impressive, exactly as intelligence had predicted. "Sir," Captain Maria Reed approached with a tablet. "Beijing, Moscow, Washington, and London are all reporting the same message. The Imperial ships are maintaining high orbit, just as our simulations suggested they would." Wilson allowed himself a small smile. The aliens were following their standard conquest protocol perfectly. Their arrogance would be their undoing. In the next hour, the world erupted into carefully orchestrated chaos. News channels broadcast scenes of panic. Social media exploded with fear and confusion. Military units rushed into positions, old positions, visible positions, exactly where an invading force would expect them to be. Deep underground, in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, the world's leaders gathered for an emergency session. The meeting room was silent as they watched Wilson's report on the main screen. "The Imperial fleet matches our intelligence exactly," Wilson explained, his image clear on the screen. 17 capital ships, approximately 200 support vessels. Their shield frequencies are exactly where our deep space probes indicated they would be. The President of the United States leaned forward. "And our real defenses. Operation Dark Forest is ready, ma'am. Our lunar bases are fully operational. The Mars fleet is in position. All stealth systems are functioning perfectly. They haven't detected a thing." The Chinese premier nodded in approval. "And the special weapons? Ready to deploy at your command. Our quantum disruption fields are charged and targeted. The AI combat systems are fully online. We can launch within 30 minutes of your order." The room filled with knowing smiles. For 2 decades, Earth had maintained the appearance of a divided, technologically backward world. Every space launch had been public, noisy, and deliberately inefficient. Every satellite had been obviously primitive. Every military exercise had been visible and conventional. Meanwhile, deep in the asteroid belt, and hidden beneath the lunar surface, humanity had built its real fleet. Ships that could match or exceed Imperial technology. Weapons that could pierce their supposedly superior shields. Defenses that could withstand their strongest attacks. As the alien ships loomed overhead, humanity prepared its response. In hidden bases across the solar system, crews ran final checks on their ships. In underground bunkers, quantum computers calculated optimal attack vectors. In stealth facilities, pilots climbed into their cockpits. The Empire had made a critical mistake. They had judged Earth by what they could see. They never stopped to ask why a species that had mastered nuclear fusion and discovered quantum mechanics still appeared to struggle with basic spaceflight. They never wondered why a planet that could detect their approach 20 years ago appeared to have developed so little since then. In 48 hours, they would learn their mistake. Humanity was ready for war. 20 years earlier, The world had changed forever. Not that most people knew it. Commander Anna Roberts remembered that day clearly as she walked through the hidden lunar base, her footsteps echoing in the metal corridor. It had started with a simple deep space signal. A routine scan by an observatory in Hawaii had picked up something strange, a pattern that couldn't be natural. Within hours, the world's best scientists confirmed it. An alien fleet was heading toward Earth, though it would take decades to arrive. The base's main door slid open, revealing a massive underground chamber. Roberts smiled at the sight that never failed to amaze her. Stretching for miles under the lunar surface was humanity's real fleet. Sleek warships lined up in perfect rows, their dark hulls designed to absorb rather than reflect light. Status report. She called out to her second-in-command, Jack Porter, who was checking displays at the central control station. "All ships are combat-ready, Commander," Porter replied, handing her a tablet. "The new quantum shields are operating at full power. Weapon systems are charged. Stealth systems are working perfectly. The Imperial ships still haven't detected us." Roberts nodded as she reviewed the numbers. The public thought humanity's best ships were the clunky rockets that made occasional trips to the old space station. They had no idea about these vessels, built in secret using technology reverse-engineered from 3 Imperial scout ships that had crashed on Earth over the past century. "Remember when we found the first one?" Porter asked, following her gaze to the nearest ship. "Everyone thought we'd need decades just to understand their basic systems." Roberts remembered. The crashed scout ship had been discovered in the Russian tundra. Its systems were badly damaged, but its databanks were intact. Most importantly, it contained detailed information about Imperial technology, tactics, and weaknesses. "Show me the latest simulator results," Roberts ordered, moving to the main tactical display. The huge screen lit up with combat data. For years, they had run millions of simulations, testing every possible scenario. The Empire's tactics hadn't changed in centuries. They had no reason to change what had always worked. Their arrogance made them predictable. "Look at these shield frequencies," Porter pointed to a graph. "The Empire still uses the same basic patterns we found in that first scout ship. They never expected anyone to analyze them so carefully. Our weapons will cut through their defenses like they're not even there." A young officer rushed up to them, tablet in hand. "Commander, the Imperial fleet has just issued their ultimatum to Earth. They're demanding surrender within 48 hours. Roberts checked her watch. "Right on schedule. Begin final launch preparations," she ordered. "I want all crews at their stations within 6 hours. Start warming up the engines, but keep them on minimal power. We don't want to risk any thermal signatures they might detect." The lunar base came alive with activity. Crews hurried to their ships while technicians ran final system checks. In similar bases across the solar system, hidden in asteroids, buried under Mars's surface, concealed in Earth's oceans, the same preparations were underway. Through a viewing window, Roberts watched as pilots climbed into their fighters. These weren't the disposable craft shown in public videos. These were advanced machines that could outmaneuver anything in the Imperial fleet. Their weapons were based on Imperial technology, but improved by human innovation. Their shields used quantum principles that Imperial science hadn't even discovered yet. "It's almost funny," Porter said quietly. "They think they're so superior, but they never considered that finding one of their scout ships was the best thing that ever happened to us. We've had 20 years to study their technology, improve it, and prepare our response." Roberts turned away from the window. "Send the alert to all bases. Full combat readiness in 6 hours. When the Empire demands Earth's surrender, we'll give them an answer they'll never forget." The final hour of the Empire's ultimatum ticked away. On Earth's surface, the scene was exactly what the Imperial fleet expected to see. Military bases scrambled outdated jets. Governments issued panicked statements. Citizens crowded the streets, looking up at the massive ships that blocked their sky. From his command ship, Imperial Captain Marcus watched with satisfaction. "Look at them running around like ants," He said to his bridge crew, "Primitive species are all the same. They never accept their place in the Empire quietly, but they always break in the end." His tactical officer nodded. "Our sensors show no significant orbital defenses, sir. Their space stations are minimal. Their satellites are basic communication and observation platforms. No weapons detected. Begin final preparations for the demonstration strike," Marcus ordered. "Choose one of their smaller cities. Something big enough to prove our power, but small enough to leave them something to surrender for." The massive Imperial ship turned slowly, its weapon systems powering up. Below, Earth's visible defenses remained scattered and ineffective. Everything was proceeding according to standard conquest protocols. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Behind Mars, hidden in the planet's radar shadow, Commander Roberts gave the order. "All ships, power up. Quantum shields at maximum. Weapons free. Execute attack pattern Delta." Hundreds of ships seemed to appear from nowhere as their stealth systems deactivated. They weren't the clunky rockets the Empire had seen. These were sleek predators, built for war, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology the Empire thought impossible for Earth to possess. On the Imperial flagship's bridge, alarms screamed. "Captain, multiple ships detected. They're everywhere." Marcus spun to face his sensor officer. "Impossible. Where did they come from? Why didn't we detect them?" Before anyone could answer, the first human ships opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy, based on Imperial technology, but refined and improved, sliced through the supposedly invincible Imperial shields like they weren't there. "Their weapons. They're using our own frequencies." Marcus watched in horror as 3 Imperial cruisers exploded. "How do they know our shield harmonics?" In her command ship, Roberts directed the battle with calm precision. "All units, execute as planned. Target their command and control systems first. Don't let them coordinate their defense." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Fighters darted between the massive Imperial ships, their quantum-shifted weapons finding gaps in Imperial defenses that shouldn't have existed. Larger warships engaged directly, their improved versions of Imperial technology proving devastatingly effective. Admiral Wilson watched from Earth Defense Command as the battle unfolded exactly as their simulations had predicted. The Empire's rigid tactical doctrine, unchanged for centuries, made them predictable. Every move they made had been anticipated and countered before the first shot was fired. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers reported, "Imperial ships are attempting to regroup. Their communication systems are in chaos. They can't understand why their shields aren't working." Wilson nodded. "Launch the second wave. Let's show them what else we've learned in the past 20 years. From hidden bases across the solar system, more ships appeared. The Empire's neat formation dissolved into chaos as they faced attacks from every direction. Their scheduled, organized conquest had turned into a desperate fight for survival. On the Imperial flagship, Marcus watched his fleet falling apart. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They're savages. They're primitives. We saw their technology level. We monitored them for years." "Captain," his tactical officer shouted, "they're using improved versions of our own technology. Their ships, their weapons, they're better than ours." As another Imperial ship exploded, Marcus finally understood. They hadn't been monitoring Earth's development. Earth had been studying them, learning their weaknesses, preparing for this moment. The Empire's perfect record of conquests was about to end. In the Imperial High Command's emergency chamber, confusion turned to fear. The massive holographic display showed their fleet's destruction in real time. Ship after ship winked out of existence as Earth's forces struck with devastating precision. Admiral Thomas, the Empire's most experienced commander, watched in stunned silence. His pale features reflected the red emergency lights that filled the chamber. After conquering 300 worlds, he had never seen anything like this. "How?" one of the council members demanded. "How did they hide this level of technology? Our scouts monitored them for decades." Thomas moved closer to the display, his eyes narrowing as he studied Earth's battle tactics. "They didn't just copy our technology," he said quietly. "They improved it. Look at their shield frequencies. They're using quantum shifting. We thought that was impossible." On the main screen, another Imperial cruiser exploded. The humans had somehow learned to bypass their shields completely. Weapons that should have been unstoppable were proving useless against Earth's defenses. "Signal from the front line, sir." A young officer rushed in with a data tablet. "Captain Marcus reports their ships are emerging from hidden bases throughout their solar system. They're not just fighting from Earth. They have facilities on their moon, on Mars, even in the asteroid belt." Thomas felt a chill run down his spine. The humans hadn't just prepared for a fight. They had prepared for a total war. While the Empire watched their primitive space launches and outdated satellites, humanity had been building an entire war machine in secret. In Earth's orbit, the battle continued to rage. Commander Robert's forces pressed their advantage, their ships moving with perfect coordination. The Imperial fleet's rigid formation began to break apart as human vessels struck from unexpected angles. "Their computers," Thomas muttered, watching the tactical display. "They're using advanced AI combat systems. Our ships can't predict their movement patterns." He turned to the council. "We're not fighting the primitive species we expected. We're fighting an enemy that has spent years studying us, learning our weaknesses, and preparing to exploit them." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded an immediate full retreat. Others called for bringing in the Empire's main fleet. A few suggested using forbidden weapons to simply destroy the planet. "Silence," Thomas roared. When quiet fell, he pointed to the display. "Look at their tactics. They're not just winning through superior technology. Every move they make shows intimate knowledge of our standard combat protocols. They knew exactly what we would do, and they prepared for it." On the screen, Earth's fleet executed another perfectly coordinated attack. 3 more Imperial ships disappeared in balls of fire. The humans were systematically destroying their command and control vessels, preventing any organized response. New data coming in. The young officer reported, his voice shaking. "We've detected more human ships arriving from beyond their asteroid belt. They're hidden forces. They're larger than our entire invasion fleet." Thomas watched as the dots representing human vessels continued to multiply on the tactical display. The Empire had arrived expecting to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they had walked into a carefully laid trap. "How many worlds?" he asked quietly. When the others looked confused, he clarified, "How many worlds have we conquered using exactly the same tactics? How many species watched us approach, knowing they had decades to prepare?" The silence that followed was deafening. As they watched their mighty fleet being systematically destroyed by the supposedly primitive humans, the Imperial High Command faced a terrifying realization. Their greatest strength, their unchanging, predictable military doctrine, had become their greatest weakness. Commander Roberts stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as human forces pressed their advantage. The initial surprise was over. Now came the real test of humanity's preparations. "All ships, execute Phase 2, she ordered. The tactical display showed hundreds of human vessels moving into attack formation. "Target their supply lines. Don't let them regroup." The Empire's fleet had always relied on perfectly organized supply chains. Their ships needed constant resupply of their exotic fuel, a weakness humanity had discovered in those crashed scout ships 20 years ago. Now that weakness would prove fatal. "Strike Team Alpha, you have launch clearance," Roberts commanded. Her best crews had trained for years for this moment. Their ships, smaller than the rest, were specifically designed to slip through Imperial defenses. Inside the massive Imperial flagship, alarms blared as human vessels appeared seemingly from nowhere. The strike team had used the chaos of the main battle to slip past their outer defenses. "Security breach in sectors 7 through 12. An Imperial officer shouted. "They're inside our shields. They're boarding us." The strike team moved with practiced precision. Their boarding suits, reverse-engineered from Imperial design, but improved with human innovations, let them move through the ship's corridors with ease. Each soldier carried weapons specifically designed to overcome Imperial armor. Primary target located, the strike team leader reported back to Roberts, moving to secure their central command center. Back in Earth orbit, the main battle continued to unfold. Human ships targeted Imperial supply vessels with ruthless efficiency. Without their fuel ships, the massive Imperial warships would soon be dead in space. Admiral Wilson coordinated the attack from Earth Defense Command. "Launch our AI warfare packages," he ordered. "Let's show them what real electronic warfare looks like." Across the battlefield, Imperial ships suddenly lost control of their systems. Their supposedly unbreakable computer defenses proved useless against human AI that had been specifically designed to counter them. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers called out, "Imperial ships are losing power across their entire fleet. Their automated systems are shutting down. They're having to switch to manual control." The Empire had relied on automation for centuries. Their crews barely knew how to operate their ships manually. Now that overconfidence was costing them dearly. On the Imperial flagship, the strike team reached the main bridge. They burst through the doors to find the Imperial command staff still trying to understand what was happening to their fleet. "Bridge secured," the team leader reported. "Imperial command staff is in custody." Commander Roberts allowed herself a small smile. "Begin data extraction. Download everything from their central computers. We want to know every Imperial fleet position, every supply route, every hidden base." The battle was turning into a rout. Imperial ships, cut off from their supply lines and struggling with failing systems, began to break formation. Some tried to retreat. Others surrendered. A few fought on desperately, but without their automated systems, they were no match for human forces. "Status report," Wilson demanded, watching the tactical display closely. "Enemy fleet is at 40% strength and falling," Rogers reported. "Their supply lines are completely cut. Their command structure is in chaos. They're trying to retreat, but our quantum drives are faster than their engines. They can't escape." In the Imperial High Command chamber, Admiral Thomas watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell apart. The humans hadn't just prepared to defend themselves. They had prepared to take the fight to the Empire itself. "Send the signal," he whispered to his staff. "All Imperial forces are to retreat immediately. Earth is not to be approached under any circumstances." He paused, then added, "Mark this sector as extreme hazard. The humans are not what we thought they were." The Empire's greatest defeat was nearly complete, and humanity's counterattack was just beginning. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Imperial fleet fled in defeat. Their once proud warships, those that could still move, desperately tried to escape Earth's solar system. But humanity had planned for this moment too. "They're making a run for the outer system," Lieutenant Rogers reported at Earth Defense Command. "Their remaining ships are trying to reach safe distance for their faster-than-light jumps." Admiral Wilson nodded calmly. "Deploy the pursuit fleet. Don't let them escape with any of their command ships. We need their navigation data." He turned to face the giant tactical display. "And send the message." Throughout the solar system, hidden human ships powered up their engines. These vessels had been waiting silently among the outer planets, powered down to avoid detection. Now, they sprang their final trap. Imperial ships detected ahead. Commander Roberts announced from her position with the pursuit fleet, "Right where we expected them to run." She allowed herself a grim smile. "All ships, activate quantum nets." The human vessels released clouds of tiny devices that spread out through space. These quantum-linked machines created webs of energy that disrupted Imperial faster-than-light drives. The Empire's ships found themselves trapped, unable to escape. On the Imperial flagship's bridge, now under human control, the strike team accessed their communication systems. "Attention Imperial fleet," they'd broadcast on all frequencies. Your faster-than-light capabilities have been neutralized. Your supply lines are cut. Your command systems are compromised. In the Imperial High Command Chamber, Admiral Thomas watched with growing horror as more human ships appeared to block every escape route. They had hidden vessels throughout their entire solar system, waiting for exactly this moment. "How?" he whispered. "How did they build all this without us noticing?" The answer came from their own captured data cores. While the Empire watched Earth's public space program launch simple rockets, humanity had been building shipyards inside hollow asteroids. While Imperial scouts monitored primitive satellites, humans were constructing bases in deep radar shadows. Every failure in their space program had been carefully planned to maintain the deception. "Sir," an officer reported to Wilson, "we're picking up distress calls from the Imperial ships. Many are running out of fuel. Their emergency systems are failing." Wilson nodded. "Broadcast our terms. Any ship that surrenders will be treated according to Earth's military codes. Any ship that continues to resist." He let the silence finish his sentence. One by one, the mighty Imperial warships powered down their weapons. The empire that had conquered 300 worlds was suffering its first defeat, and it was total. "Message from Earth Command," Roberts announced to her fleet. "Begin recovery operations. Secure all Imperial technology and data cores. Don't let them destroy anything." Human ships moved in carefully, surrounding each Imperial vessel. Boarding teams prepared to take control of the surrendered ships. Engineers stood ready to study every piece of Imperial technology, looking for more advantages they could use. "Admiral," Rogers called out, "we're detecting long-range communications from the retreating Imperial ships. They're warning their entire empire about us." Wilson smiled. "Good. Let them spread the word. Earth is not to be trifled with." The remaining Imperial ships, now surrounded and powerless, had no choice but to accept Earth's terms. Their crews watched in disbelief as human ships, using technology that should have been impossible for primitives to possess, took control of their vessels. In the High Command Chamber, Thomas made his final report to the Imperial capital. "Earth must be marked as a Class 1 threat. Their technology matches or exceeds our own. Their tactics are superior. Their deception was perfect. The Empire has not just been defeated. We have been outmaneuvered at every step. Humanity's first interstellar war was ending. Their victory would reshape the galaxy forever." 6 months after Earth's victory, Admiral Wilson stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Chamber in Geneva. Through its massive windows, he could see both Earth's blue skies and the constant traffic of ships entering and leaving the atmosphere. Not just human vessels now, but ships from dozens of formerly Imperial worlds. "Another delegation requesting Earth's protection, sir," Commander Roberts reported, approaching with a datapad. "The third one this week." Wilson nodded, watching as his sleek diplomatic vessel from a distant star system descended toward the landing pad. After Earth's defeat of the Empire, everything had changed. The galaxy was reshaping itself, and humanity was at the center of it all. "How many worlds have signed the Earth Protection Accord now?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. He just liked hearing it. 57 as of this morning," Roberts replied with a smile. "Most of them were former Imperial colonies. They're all offering to share their technology and resources in exchange for our protection." She paused. "They're scared the Empire will try to reconquer them." Wilson turned away from the window. The chamber below was filling with representatives from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien, but all of them were here for the same reason. "The Empire won't dare," he said confidently. "Not after what we did to their fleet. Our ships are patrolling their borders now. Our quantum communication network lets us respond to any threat within minutes." The data they had captured from the Imperial flagship had proved invaluable. Earth now knew every Imperial secret, every weakness, every hidden base. But more importantly, they had shown the galaxy that the Empire wasn't invincible. "Report from our expeditionary fleet," a young officer announced, hurrying up with a new message. They've made contact with 3 more civilizations beyond Imperial space. All of them want to open diplomatic relations. In the 6 months since the battle, humanity have been busy. Their hidden shipyards, no longer needing to stay secret, were producing vessels at an incredible rate. Earth's fleet now patrolled trade routes that had once been terrorized by Imperial tax collectors. The new defense grid is online, Roberts reported. We've installed quantum sensors around all our allied worlds. No Imperial ship can approach without us knowing about it. Below in the chamber, the latest signing ceremony was about to begin. Representatives from 5 more worlds were ready to join the Earth Protection Accord. Each of them had something to offer: unique technologies, rare resources, ancient knowledge. Earth was learning from all of them, growing stronger every day. Message from Admiral Thomas, the young officer said quietly. The captured Imperial commander had proved to be a valuable source of information. He says more Imperial worlds are considering declaring independence. They've seen that we can protect them. Wilson smiled. The Empire was falling apart without a shot being fired. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago were rising up, knowing Earth would support them. The Imperial capital was facing protests for the first time in its history. Begin the ceremony, Wilson ordered. The chamber below fell silent as Earth's representatives took their places. This was what victory really looked like. Not just defeating an enemy, but building something better to replace them. To think, Roberts said softly. They thought we were primitives. They never realized that seeing them coming gave us our greatest advantage. Time to prepare. Wilson watched as the new world signed the accord, joining Earth's growing alliance. Humanity had not just survived its first contact with the Galactic Empire, they had replaced it. Where the Empire had ruled through fear, Earth would lead through cooperation. The galaxy needed a defender, Wilson replied. Now it has one. A new age had begun, and humanity was ready to lead the way.